What would you do if you found blood all over the house? That's what happened to a young woman in Romania when she discovered the body of her friend Andreea Morega, a 21-year-old medical student with no enemies. This case shocked the country, and today I'll tell you everything about it. Guys, I researched this case, and I saw that so far, it's unprecedented here on YouTube, so I brought you all the available information about it, okay? You know, I always try to bring new, never-before-covered cases here. Sometimes I can, and sometimes I can't. But whenever I can, I intend to bring a story here that hasn't been told yet. That's it for now. If you enjoy my content, please leave a like and a comment. It really helps me a lot with my work here. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. I'll talk about that fateful day, but first, let's see how everything unfolded. Andreea Mihaela Morega was born on July 9, 2002, in the commune of Padiș. Padiș is a small town with just over 5,000 inhabitants, located in the Gorj district in the Oltenia region of Romania. Andreea was the only child of Adrian Morega and his wife, whose name has not been disclosed in any source. She grew up in a humble home, where her parents placed all their hopes and efforts on her. In later interviews, Adrian would often say with emotion that everything we did was for our daughter, reflecting the deep love her parents had for Andreea. From a young age, Andreea stood out for her kindness and dedication, being described by neighbors and family as a calm, respectful child, full of curiosity about the world around her. She dreamed of becoming a doctor one day, so she could help people and also support her family financially. While her parents worked hard to support her studies, she repaid them with excellent grades and exemplary behavior. Andreea attended elementary school at a local school, where she already showed a natural talent for learning and was highly praised by her teachers. There are no records of extraordinary adventures or notable events during this period, but it is known that Andreea was an example to others, quiet, attentive, and always making her parents proud. Around 2017, Andreea began high school at the Constantine Brâncoveanu Technological College in Baia de Arama, a town near Padiș. This college is a vocational high school, and it was there that Andreea established herself as an outstanding student with unwavering focus on her studies. Her teachers and classmates said she was very dedicated and responsible, always wearing a warm smile. This was the period when her dream of becoming a doctor began to take shape, and her parents supported her with all the resources they could provide. In June 2021, Andreea graduated from high school. In Romania, the high school academic year ends in June, and the university entrance exams take place in the following months. Andreea applied for a spot at the Victor Babeș University of Medicine and Pharmacy, a highly prestigious institution. The position was extremely competitive, contested by tens of thousands of people who also aspired to become doctors. According to sources, Andreea felt well prepared and firmly believed she would pass. She had to take a written exam, consisting of a multiple-choice test that lasted several hours. Her final exam score would be combined with her high school grades. There is no specific mention of her individual score or performance in the sources, but she achieved a score sufficient to be admitted to medical school. Adrian and his wife were very proud and happy. All the years of dedication and effort had paid off, and their daughter would achieve her dream of becoming a doctor. After being accepted into the university, Andreea had to move to Timișoara later that same year. Timișoara is one of the main university cities in the western part of the country. It is located in Timiș County and has a population of over 300,000 inhabitants. This is where the Victor Babeș University of Medicine and Pharmacy is located, where Andreea would pursue her medical studies in the coming years. The distance between Padiș and Timișoara is over 155 miles, so it wasn't possible for Andreea to return home every day. For this reason, she had to move closer to the university. The move was difficult at first. The young woman had to leave behind the calm of her hometown and step into the hustle and bustle of a university city. This transition was a very significant milestone in her life, from a commune with fewer than 5,000 inhabitants to an academic and cultural center where she could pursue her dream of becoming a doctor. Her parents fully supported the move, covering what they could to provide as much comfort as possible for their daughter. In Timișoara, Andreea settled in a modest student residence and over the following months had to adjust to the new routine of intense classes and rigorous studies. She maintained daily contact with her parents by phone, sharing details of university life and expressing excitement about her classes. On weekends and holidays, Andreea usually returned to Padish to spend as much time as possible with her parents. She was very attached to her family and wanted to stay close to them whenever she had the opportunity. According to sources, Andreea made significant progress in her medical studies. In 2023, Andreea moved to an apartment closer to the train station. This made it easier to get to the university, reducing her commute time. The apartment rent was not cheap, and to help with costs, Andreea shared the space with two other girls who were also university students. Around the same time, Andreea met a young man named Mirel Dragomir. Mirel also studied at the Victor Babeș University of Medicine and Pharmacy. He was 23 years old and was enrolled in the medicine and theology programs. Mirel, like Andreea, was born in a small commune. The place is called Pojejena and has just over 3,000 inhabitants. The commune is located in Karaš-Severin County in western Romania, a rural area near the Serbian border. He grew up in a family considered exemplary by neighbors and acquaintances. They were hard-working and dedicated people. Mirel was described by those close to him as a studious, calm, polite, and religious young man. He had no known history of behavioral problems during his childhood or adolescence. He was seen by many as a role model. Mirel and Andreea met through the two roommates Andreea shared the apartment with. One of the girls was Mirel's sister, and the other was his cousin. Shortly after meeting, Mirel began showing romantic interest in Andreea. According to sources, he started visiting Andreea at the apartment she shared with his sister and cousin. He would bring flowers and gifts to please her and would invite her out. Over time, the two began a relationship, which reportedly started in October 2023. They were often seen together by college classmates, who until then had never noticed anything wrong with their relationship. The first months of the relationship between Mirel and Andreea were calm, but over time, Mirel began showing excessive jealousy toward her. He demanded her phone password to check who she was talking to. This led to frequent arguments and fights between the couple. According to family members and people close to Andreea, she reportedly said that the relationship with Mirel was becoming unsustainable, and because of that, she was considering ending it. Mirel, on the other hand, told family and friends that his relationship with Andreea was going great, and that they were even thinking about marriage. Family members of Andreea later stated that the young woman did not see herself as Mirel's girlfriend and considered him only a friend. However, college classmates frequently saw them together, and everything indicated that they were in a relationship. Maybe, for some unknown reason, Andreea didn't want her family to know that she was dating Mirel. In early March 2024, Andreea remained dedicated to her studies. At that time, she was already in her third year of university and doing an internship. She spoke with her parents daily and expressed excitement about her course. She planned to return to Padish on the weekend of March 22nd to 23rd, eager for a bit of small-town peace after the hectic pace of her student life. On March 21st, Andreea spoke normally with her family on the phone. Her father, Adrian, noticed that she seemed very excited to return to Padish and spend the weekend with them. This was the last time Adrian and his wife heard their daughter's voice. The next day, March 22nd, Andreea went to university as usual, just like every day. Professors and classmates who interacted with her later said that she appeared normal, with no changes in her behavior. In the afternoon, after finishing her daily studies at the university, Andreea returned to the apartment where she lived. Around 6 p.m., Mirel arrived at the apartment and invited Andreea to go out. Andreea accepted the invitation but said she needed to take a shower before getting ready. Mirel said it was fine and that he would wait for her in the living room. While Andreea was in the shower, Mirel tried to look at her phone, but it was locked with a password. When Andreea came out of the shower and got dressed, Mirel demanded that she tell him the password to unlock the phone, as he wanted to see who she was talking to. Andreea refused, and the two began to argue. During the argument, Andreea reportedly told Mirel that she could not take it anymore and that she wanted to end their relationship. Mirel became furious, went to the kitchen, and grabbed 2 knives. Upon returning to the living room, he violently attacked her. Andreea tried to defend herself, but Mirel was stronger, and the 2 knives made the attack fatal. In total, Mirel inflicted 51 stab wounds on Andreea. The brutality of the attack was such that one of the knives broke. Most of the wounds were to the neck, abdomen, and chest, hitting the heart. After the crime, Mirel placed Andreea's body on her bed, adjusted her hair to cover the neck wounds, and fled the scene, locking the door. A few hours later, already at night, Mirel's sister, who shared the apartment with Andreea, arrived at the location. Upon opening the apartment door, she realized that something was wrong. There was a lot of blood in the living room, with a trail leading to Andrea's bedroom. Despite being scared, she decided to go to the bedroom to see what had happened. When she opened the door, which was ajar, she was confronted with Andrea's bloodied body on the bed. Quickly, she grabbed her phone and dialed 112, the emergency number in Romania. When paramedics arrived, along with a police team, they confirmed that Andreea had already been dead for several hours. Since it was clearly a crime scene, the police decided to secure the area and conduct a forensic investigation for evidence. They noticed that the apartment was in disarray, indicating that a struggle had occurred. The knives used in the crime were still found in the living room. Meanwhile, Mirel fled to his parents' house in Pojehena. After the crime scene investigation, the authorities removed Andrea's body for an autopsy. According to the autopsy report, the victim suffered 51 stab wounds. The wound that hit her heart was fatal, and the cause of death was determined to be severe hemorrhage due to the injuries. It was also noted that Andreea had defensive wounds on her hands and forearms. Probably during the struggle to defend herself, she tried to grab the knife and ended up holding the blade. Skin was found under her nails, indicating that she had scratched the attacker during the struggle. When Andrea's family and college classmates learned what had happened, they were deeply shaken. Andrea's parents were devastated. She was an only child, raised with great love and care, only for someone who couldn't control himself to come and take her life. The parents had a hard time believing that nightmare was real, and according to sources, they only accepted the truth after seeing their daughter's body. The crime caused widespread shock across Romania, and several newspapers began covering the case. Some students living near the crime scene, especially women, were panicked at the possibility that a maniac could be on the loose. Since they did not yet know who was responsible for the crime, they began to speculate that the attack might have been random and that the killer could strike again soon. During the investigation, the authorities' attention quickly turned to Mirel Dragomir. This was because he had simply disappeared and was not answering calls, not even when his own sister tried to contact him. This led investigators to suspect him immediately. When checking the security cameras installed in the building where the apartment was located, as well as on the street outside, the police saw Mirel leaving the building in a hurry, a very suspicious action. In the footage, it was not possible to see if there were bloodstains on his clothes, but the time he left the scene coincides with the time the crime occurred, according to the forensic report. Mirel's sister and cousin were questioned by the police about his behavior, whether he was aggressive, and if he could be capable of committing such a crime. They said that Mirel was a calm young man and did not believe he could commit such an atrocity. The police also asked the two young women if Mirel and Andreea argued often and what their relationship was like. The young women said that everything seemed normal between them, that they occasionally argued, but it was typical for a relationship. When he arrived at his parents' house in Pojehena, more than 90 miles from the crime scene, Mirel, crying, told his family what he had done. His parents thought it was a bad joke after all. To them, their son, considered a role model, could never be capable of committing such an atrocity. However, news of the crime had already reached Romanian media, in a relatively small country with a population of just over 19 million. So, when a serious crime happens, soon the whole country knows about it. When they realized that Mirel was not joking, and that everything he said was true, his parents advised him to turn himself in. They were afraid of what could happen to their son if he decided to remain on the run for longer. The next day, March 23rd, Mirel's parents called the local police to turn in their son. Shortly after, a police team went to the family's house and arrested Mirel without resistance. He was taken the same day to Timișoara, where he underwent an interrogation at the city police headquarters. During this interrogation, Mirel confessed to the crime in detail. He described the argument over the phone password, the attack with the two knives, how he arranged the body on the bed, and then his escape to Pojehena. He claimed that he acted in a fit of jealousy, without any premeditation. There were scratch marks on his face and arms, as you can see in this image, indicating that Andreea fought as best she could to defend herself. This confession was recorded and used as the main evidence against Mirel. Based on the confession, physical evidence, and testimonies, the local prosecutor filed a request for a 30-day preventive detention against Mirel. He was transferred to a prison in Timișoara while the police continued investigating the facts. In the following days, authorities collected statements from university classmates, friends, and family members of both the victim and the perpetrator to try to understand the dynamics of the crime. On March 25th, Andreea Morega's body was released to her family so they could bury her. Her body was transported from Timișoara to Padeș, where the funeral and burial would take place. The farewell ceremony was marked by deep emotion and attended by family, friends, and college classmates, including some professors. The funeral took place at Andreea's parents' home, following a local tradition. According to reports, Adrian Morega, the victim's father, did not want to leave his daughter's coffin. Andreea's mother required medical attention at the site and was assisted by an emergency team. The coffin remained open in the main room of the house. Andreea was dressed as a bride, in accordance with the Oltenia tradition for young, unmarried women who die prematurely, symbolizing purity and marriage to God. Later, the coffin was taken to the local cemetery where Andreea was buried. According to sources, Adrian regularly visits his daughter's grave, cleaning the area and leaving fresh flowers. Andreea's room was kept intact by her parents, with her laptop and belongings in place, as if she were going to return. After the police concluded the investigation, Mirel Dragomir was formally charged with qualified homicide. In April, he underwent a psychiatric evaluation ordered by the prosecutor. The report, completed within a few days, determined that he had full discernment at the time of the crime, with no mental disorders that would annul criminal responsibility. The trial of Mirel Dragomir took place in February 2025 at the Timiș court. The process was fast due to his confession and the strong body of evidence against him. At the end of the trial, Mirel Dragomir was sentenced to 25 years in prison, the maximum penalty for homicide in Romania. He was also ordered to pay 100,000 euros to Andreea's family and an additional 35,000 euros to cover funeral expenses. The decision took into account the cruelty of the act, the 51 stab wounds, and Mirel's full awareness of his actions. In March 2025, the Timișoara Court of Appeals reviewed the evidence again, including reports and testimonies. A month later, they set May 7th as the date for the final ruling. When the day arrived, the 25-year sentence was upheld. Mirel's defense still tried to appeal, but in November 2025, all appeals were rejected, closing the case for good. According to reports, Mirel does not regret the crime and even appealed the sentence, asking for a reduced term. The trial drew widespread public attention, and Andreea's family was present, expressing their full outrage. They had hoped for life imprisonment, but the law limits the sentence to 25 years for this type of crime. Mirel Dragomir is currently serving his sentence at the Timișoara Penitentiary. Well, folks, that's it. Let me know in the comments if you already knew the story and what you thought about it. All right, I'm going to wrap things up here. Thank you so much for sticking with me until the end. A big hug, and see you next time.